Hello, everybody, and welcome back to a brand new edition of KerVAM, a Doctor Who podcast where we are, of course, talking about the new season of Doctor Who, Season 2, and we're on to Episode 6, the Interstellar Song Contest, which is an episode I think we all knew was going to be significant, could also be absolutely terrible because it was a Eurovision type episode and we weren't really sure about it. And so we now live in a world where the Rani is back, where Susan is back, and general chaos and things are going on. So I am joined by the OG crew of Ryan and Charlie. Bill will be joining later for a quick a few thoughts he's going to be sending in for us. But yeah, me, Ryan and Charlie are going to have a chat all about the episode, about the return of the Rani and everything that could happen in the finale. So Ryan, I'm going to come to you first because of course, what did you say last week to us about the return of the Rani?
Oh boy. I said if she was going to come back, I was going to rip my own head off, and well,
good effort. I for the people listening in the audio only, I'm sure that came across really well. But yeah, fun. We might as well just dive straight into it because I feel like there's lots to talk about with this episode, but it is a pretty key point to the episode. So the Rani is back. Are you happy? Are you sad? Are you bored? Are you hyped? Are you not? What's your general feelings, Ryan?
on the plus side, at least they got two good actresses playing the Rani. That's the only thing I'm jazzed about because Anita Dobson, well, we already know she can be charming. I know she's going to do great, and I know Archie Panjabi is going to be brilliant. I mean, she's done a lot of great stuff, whether it's a Blind Spot, The Good Wife. She's really good actress. So, and I think she's going to be great as the main Rani. And I just think both of them are going to be phenomenal together. That's my positive. It's kind of like how it was with the classic series. That Kate Tamara was great, and she was. It's going to be the same here with Anita and Archie. However, I just don't care about the Rani. I've never cared about the Rani. I was rewatching some classic Doctor Who with her in it because well, just to kind of brace myself in case she was going to come back. And yeah, I still don't care about the Rani. She's just a female master, basically. There's nothing really that unique about it. It's the same way how I feel about the Valiard. There's nothing interesting. They're just basically carbon copies of the master. And when that happened, but I'm not gonna lie, when that happened mid credit, and we have not one but two Ranis, I'm not gonna lie, I just shouted "what" over and over for about a minute after it finished. I just could. I can't believe after all this time, people were like, "Oh, is it going to be the Rani? Is it going to be?" Russell actually gave in and basically brought back the Rani anyway. It's just unbelievable, and I'm just. Has he made a good call on this? Again, I don't know. We have yet to see the two-parter, but if it doesn't end up well, it's gonna. I'm just gonna. It just reminds me of that bit of from Jurassic Park where Jeff Goldblum says they spent so much time preoccupied thinking whether or not they could, they didn't actually stop to think if they should. And it's just basically how I feel, and it just raises a lot of questions. Like, if Mrs. Flood was the Rani all this time, how was she able to break the fourth wall instantly just like that? How did she have all this information about the Pantheon and seemingly have this almost godlike ability, almost seemingly in that first season? And also, it just raises questions of what exactly is she doing? I mean, Gallifrey has been through two cataclysmic events, so where the hell has she been?
Yeah, so she's managed to survive them both, apparently.
Yeah, and it just raises even more things. It's like, is she the boss that Beat the Meep was talking about all the way back in the Star Base?
Yeah, no, that's still not been resolved. That's still not been resolved.
And yeah, and it just raises more things about the unholy trinity in the finale with Russell confirming that the two Ranis count as one and Conrad is the second, and it's just
so who's the third?
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure we'll talk about it when we get to discussing our thoughts on the theories, but it's unbelievable. It's just all these things, and again, more movie thing coming in. it just all these questions I have. It just reminds them of the Val Kilmer clip from Batman Forever. It just raises too many questions,
Yeah,
I feel like, yeah, oh my, I can't
yeah,
believe he went and did it.
yeah.
I was like, it happened. It just happened.
Yeah, it's one of those. It's really weird because I feel like, as you said, Ryan, it's been kind of a running joke for 20 years that that mysterious character. Oh, is it going to be the Rani? It could be the Rani. I mean, I feel like Missy is the first time I remember that happening, but I do feel like we probably had it maybe with River Song, possibly. I don't know. Probably with some other characters before that. And the way that Russell kind of, I watched some of the Unleashed and the behind the scenes stuff to try and just get a more formed opinion on it. And it feels like when Russell talks about the fact that he decided to make Mrs. Flood the Rani, that firstly, I get the vibe that he didn't know that when he started out writing Mrs. Flood that she was going to be the Rani. And then it feels like he's just doing it because he thinks that's what fans want. Which he says like, oh well, it's what the fans are theorizing, so I've got to give them what they want. And I'm like, well, where was that when you were writing the season 1 finale, and we all wanted Ruby's mum to be some big mystery, and it wasn't? Where were you then? And I just don't think that's good writing. I don't think that's a good approach to writing a show. I think that doesn't make any sense, and it just feels like it could. We have the same problem with in season 1, where Russell talked about the whole Susan Twist mystery and the fact that he was literally writing that so that people would talk about it on social media. That was the whole reason, and the way he structured it and put her into these episodes, because he knew people would talk about it and it would create a buzz. And I'm like, you shouldn't be writing television to try and create conversation and buzz on social media from nerdy fans. You should be writing good television. So I'm just not sure how I feel about that whole idea. And I think the one other thing, well, there's many other things I could say on it, but if I think about the people that I know who are what I'm going to call casual fans of Doctor who are watching that episode, who tune in for it when it's on, but, wouldn't remember an episode for 10 years ago, let alone 40 years ago, and wouldn't really know that much. When we get to the end of that episode and it's like, hello, I'm the Rani, they're all just going to sit there going, who? And then move on. So I just don't feel that the fact that reveal was done not with the Doctor. Like, it's really weird to have that reveal and not have it revealed to the Doctor at the same time. So it's literally just a scene for the audience. It is only a scene for the audience. And almost it doesn't matter that those Mike and Gary is in the background. It's irrelevant. It's literally a scene for us as an audience. And realistically, 75% of the people watching that don't know who the Rani is. It's just like, oh, it's just some time lady woman who's bi-generated. Cool. And I just don't think that's very good. So there's a lot of things. I was left very just like cold and a bit just by the whole reveal.
Yeah, I mean, kudos for Russell for wanting to go for classic one-off villains that, he feels deserved a bit more attention, like Toymaker, Sutek, and now
Yeah.
the Rani and whoever else he's got planned for the two-parter. I'm sure we'll talk about. But even then, I'm just a bit gobsmacked by all that. Of all the villains he could have, big villains he could have for the finale, the Rani, it just feels a bit odd. And it's
I mean,
like,
maybe that isn't the ultimate villain then. Maybe there's an even bigger villain to come.
yeah, it's true. And it's like, we got a villain timeline. It's a multi-two villain finale. It's like, but we've already done that before with the two masters, and it was. I just have a feeling it's going to be much better executed back then than it is going to be here. But then again, I don't know. I've yet to see the two-part finale. Who knows? Maybe this will make me have a new appreciation for the Rani that I never had before. I would love to be surprised, but
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I just don't know if that's going to be the case. It's considering, well, as we're going to talk about later on, there's going to be so much in this two-parter, so much. It's going to be like,
Yeah.
are they going to get the proper screen time? Are they just going to end up getting usurped by another villain?
Yeah, I'm scared. I am scared. It's very concerning. As you say, Ryan, we'll delve into that more later. But Charlie, come on, we've both shared a lot of opinions there on the Rani. So have the floor. Happy, not happy, the Rani. What's your feelings?
So, I mean, thing is, yeah, we don't really care about the Rani, right? Russell seems to have this weird idea that everyone loves the Rani, and she's like, it goes like the Master, and the Rani is just below her. Like, everyone loves her. She's not quite the Master, but everyone loves her. But I think even us, like, diehard fans, I really don't think we care about the Rani. And
Absolutely.
I mean, I respect Russell for including her. Like, he's at the end of the day, it is an established character from Doctor Who. It's a nice bit of continuity. He's adding to the lore, really. We've got
Hmm.
a second, well, we've got a third Rani, even.
Yeah.
Like, we've got three Ranis now. And, like, I mean, we can't really say anything about her yet, really, because she's had 30 seconds at the end of an episode that's not about her, really.
Yeah.
Um, and obviously we've got a two-part finale, which I am terrified for because this is all feeling very season one in that
But even
episode
worse.
three. Yeah, yeah, basically. Episode three, four,
Mhm.
five, and six have been great
Yeah.
overall on
Yeah.
average. And then we've got loads and loads of plot threads and mysteries leading up to a two-part finale.
Yeah.
It's not looking good. It's feeling very season one. And as good as this last run of episodes has been, really episodes two to six, really. I mean, I know I didn't love five, but it's been a very strong season. People's opinions of the season are going to be affected by the finale. If the last episode is bad,
Yeah.
people aren't going to like it, and it's just going to leave a bad taste in everyone's mouths, like Empire of Death did with me,
Yeah.
and I'm sure you two as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have a see at the end of the day. I feel like, it's like I said, Russell thinks everyone cares about the Rani a lot more than they actually do.
Yes.
It's been a meme for, I mean, like you said, basically all of New Who. I mean, the earliest the earliest instance of people thinking a character is the Rani, I've found posts from 2009. Oh well, 2009, 10, that the woman in the end of time is the Rani. Um, I know there's theories that it's the Doctor's mum and all sorts. No
Yes.
one will ever know who that is.
Yeah.
But
I just assume
um,
it's the Doctor's mum at this point. But yeah.
yeah, it basically is. But I mean, people were saying she was the Rani, like you said, River Song, Missy, Susan Twist, Mrs. Flood. Everyone's the Rani, and Russell's kind of he's took this meme that people are making fun of the show for having mysterious women be the Rani,
Yeah.
and he's thought this isn't a meme. People want the Rani, and he's actually done it. And like you said, I feel like I was going to say this. It's very obvious that he didn't think, yeah, this is the Rani when she started. I mean, she made that fourth wall break. Was
Yeah.
it at the Empire of Death? And then
Yeah.
again in Joy to the World, and then obviously every episode this season. Um, yeah, it's just kind of what. Um, uh, Fair enough for him not including the master yet.
Hmm.
Who
Hmm.
knows?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
We'll talk about finale theories later on. But
Yes.
yeah, we've not got a master yet, which is good really because we didn't need another master. Like 2007 to 20, we had four masters in the space of 13 years.
Hmm.
That there's no need for that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, we don't need all of that, do we? I mean, we had Ainley through all of the 80s. I'd rather have a consistent master who we have through multiple doctors.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I
as
would love to
unrealistic,
see Sasha Dewan come back.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Sacha Dhawan, 16th Doctor, great, but don't include another one because it's just we don't need this many recasts for a master. Like the Doctor, it makes sense because you're not going to have an actor, 10 seasons in a row. It just doesn't really happen.
Yeah.
Um, but the master, it's a every other season sort of thing. You could just get an actor doing that for like 15 years. Like there's no reason not to have that. Um, but yeah, Rani, at the end of the day, it doesn't take away my opinions on the actual episode, which
Hmm.
I'm sure we'll get to, because at the end of the day, it's a 30-second, it's a post-credit scene, basically. It's like basing, obviously Marvel's famous for post-credit scenes. I think lots of them nowadays aren't very good. But
Yeah.
you shouldn't judge a film based on the very, very, very ending that's just kind of teasing the next thing. I think,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, the episode was great. I'm just going to put that out there. I
Yeah.
loved it.
Yeah.
But the Rani, yeah, it's just kind of Russell writing for social media and not actually just sitting
Yeah.
down and writing an interesting plot line. Like, the thing is, yeah, I think Mrs. Flood was never going to work because it's the same thing as last season. It's a mysterious woman who keeps popping up. No matter who she was,
Yeah.
it was going to be bad. There's not a single, because I was trying to think of this,
That's
there's not
true.
a single alternative where I would have been happy with it because it's just such a derivative series arc that
Yeah.
just, yeah. yeah. Anyway, that is the worst thing I have to say about this episode, though. Really,
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
mainly just the finale setup at the very, very end that I have an issue with. I mean, yeah, we'll talk about the actual episode, but yeah,
But I think there you just highlight that it feels, for me, it just feels a bit odd and not right for the kind of series long mystery to be a tacked on mid credits scene. Like they've kind of almost told us, really, since the Church on Ruby Road. Like they've said, "Hello, this is Mrs. Flood. Oh look, she recognises a TARDIS. She's going to be important." And then actually, the scene where you kind of go, "Okay, we're revealing what that is in the middle of the credits, and not part of the story at all. There's no build up to it. It just is like it just happens." And I just don't think that's an effective way to do a reveal. The only scenario, I guess, is Russell almost viewing that as not that important in relation to everything else that's going to happen over the next two episodes, and whether in reality for Russell there's a much bigger reveal he's going to build up to in the first part of the finale or something. Maybe that's why he didn't do it. I don't know, but I just don't think it worked that well, and I don't care about the Rani, like all of us. We just don't. She was in two stories, average stories in the 80s, playing a slightly more sciencey version of the Master. That's
yeah.
literally all there is to say about her.
I think average is quite generous for time in the Rani, to
Okay,
be
fair
fair.
point. Yeah.
I think Mark and the Rani is
So,
kind of just
Yeah.
okay-ish.
Yeah.
Like it's inoffensive compared to season 22, which isn't a great thing.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Very fair
yeah.
point. Very fair
So, I
point.
mean, half her runtime is time in the Rani, so I think it's to be expected that no,
yeah.
people don't love her. But thing is, he's creating lore. If the Rani's entertaining in these two episodes, people will think more highly of her. And if she returns again in 10 years, I think we might be a bit more excited. Who knows?
Yeah. No, that's a very good point. That is a very valid point. I think we shouldn't judge the Rani until we've seen these last two episodes, and then see if we like her as a character and see if she's a worthwhile addition to it. But as you said, Charlie, we should talk about the actual episode, because that's kind of the coda at the end. So the main episode is a whole space Eurovision episode that suddenly turns really dark about 9 minutes into it, when 100,000 people are shot into space, which is pretty mental. So Ryan, what were you expecting, and were you looking forward to this episode, and how did it actually turn out to you?
I was kind of expecting it to be kind of a utopia, um, Face the Raven haunting of Villa Diodati kind of
Mm-hmm.
episode, where it's kind of like this thing that's going on that's being front loaded, that seems like it's going to be the main story, but actually it's set up for the finale.
Yeah.
And it kind of wasn't
No, had its own
really.
story. Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty much standalone, and which
Yeah.
honestly really surprised me, which I suppose is a good thing. And very quickly, being good considering how I felt about the Rani, and I will say this just very quickly with the Rani: if you're going to build up to do it like you did with Utopia,
Yeah.
that was a good way of doing the Master. And they felt like they should have done it here, but hey,
Yeah.
it is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't expect it to be pretty much a standalone story. Throughout, and I will say I did enjoy it for the most part. A few little tiny things here and there wasn't super. Did feel like needed a bit more, work on. But on the whole, I did really enjoy it. I, I don't. I will say I think episodes 2 to 5 I would still think are probably better than this.
Yeah.
I think, but it's still a good, solid episode. It's, as I said, it's Eurovision meets Die Hard, and
Yeah.
it is a. I thought they handled it as about as I think Judah Dawson, the writer, handled it as well as she could do, um, given the premise, and it wasn't completely cringy as I thought it was going to be, given all of its Eurovision. I mean, yes, there are some cringy moments, but I think it was kind of to be expected with this kind of story, and honestly, it didn't overshadow the whole thing. It was quite dark and serious when it mattered, and which I think was really important. And yeah, I will say this was definitely a good surprise for me. This story. I mean, as we all went because we all went into it thinking, oh, it's going to be set up for the finale.
Yeah.
And well, it was a tiny bit set up. It wasn't really. It was
No.
mainly just a standalone story, which honestly I was pleasantly surprised by.
Yeah. I mean, I think I at least prefer episodes 2, 3, and 4 to this. Maybe episode 5 as well. I don't think it was terrible. I just don't think I enjoyed it that much, and I feel like there were definitely flaws in the story and just things that I didn't love how, for example, how easily the whole thing was resolved. It was very a magic sonic screwdriver episode where the Doctor blows up some robots guards with the sonic screwdriver, blows up the Delta Wave box with the sonic screwdriver. Like, it just felt a little bit of a short, kind of bit of a cheat, just to give him that moment where he can kind of get really ragey and all of that. And I did appreciate the whole comparison to Gallifrey and, you know, how destroying all the Time Lords, and then, you know, that and yeah, how they sort of parallel that worked quite well. But then I also felt like Belinda didn't hold him to account very well. I mean, Belinda wasn't really much of a companion in this story, and I think it's very interesting reading an interview with Juno Dawson that when she wrote the story, she didn't actually have any information on who Belinda was as a character, apart from a nurse in her 30s, and just basically wrote generic Doctor Who companion, which I think you can kind of see because you don't really feel the development of the character in this episode that's been there in some of the previous ones. And I just feel like, given that she kind of makes multiple mentions of, that's not the Doctor, that's not my Doctor, he's not supposed to be like that, and he's kind of quite, you feel like should be quite angry with him for the way he reacts, then that doesn't really feel like that's pulled through at the end of the story. It's kind of like, oh, actually, you're wonderful, and have a hug, and it's all happy days, when actually I feel like, from the character that we've seen of Belinda in this series, she would be a little bit more confrontational about that situation. So I just felt like there were just things like that where I'm like, that doesn't feel quite right for the rest of the series.
Yeah, it did feel like maybe she wrote this with Ruby in mind, or almost.
Maybe, I don't know, possibly.
Ruby is more, because Ruby is, I mean, the relationship between that Doctor and Ruby was basically like they were besties, and so maybe it was kind of felt like maybe it was written for her in mind, but maybe because Ruby left at the end of last series, and well, she didn't know if Ruby was staying on. Maybe they had to do with Belinda, but yeah, it did feel a little bit. Yeah, I noticed that as well. It just felt a little bit odd that she wouldn't be that bit more confrontational about him, about what he did, because as I said, there have been points in the other episodes. I mean, yes, we did see the growth between them, and yes, she was starting to appreciate him more. They were starting to build a more of a close bond. But yeah, there were times where she would call him out on his crap whenever he does
exactly.
something.
And it's like she just forgot about doing that in this episode, which, yeah, I just felt really just undermines some of the development we've seen of the characters through the series. It just felt like that wasn't there, and it was like this would have slotted into episode 2 rather than episode 6. It's kind of where I felt with that. Charlie, I don't know, where did you generally sit on this episode?
More positively than the two of you.
Okay.
I can't speak for Bill. Of course, I mean he's going to be at the end of this, but I mean I was kind of the most negative on episode 5. I thought this was great. I mean,
good.
It's objectively not amazing. It's kind of Power of the Doctor, where it's objectively not great, and it's like a really sickly birthday cake where, yeah, it's not good for you. It's not like as tight and well written as episodes 2, 3, and even 4.
Yeah.
But I had so much fun watching it that I can't help but rank it as my second favorite in this season after The Well. I've probably got like The Well, Interstellar Song Contest, Lux, Lucky Day, Robot Revolution, Story in the Engine. Joy to the World, probably similar, towards the bottom.
Yeah.
But this was so much fun. I mean, it's the stuff with Belinda, it does feel a bit weird, and it's kind of Juno Dawson did the best she could with, it feels a bit messy in that sense, and it's not the most airtight episode ever, because we do have, like you said earlier, a very hand wavy sonic screwdriver finale, which I mean, I think maybe it's time to get rid of the sonic screwdriver, like they did in Classic Who back in, I couldn't tell you when it was. Was it the 80s?
Yeah, the Fifth Doctor.
Yeah. Good knowledge. I couldn't tell you the episode, but yeah, Visitation. I think, I mean, who knows? I mean, we might have 2 episodes left of New Who anyway, but Um,
Yeah.
I think maybe it's time to get rid of the sonic screwdriver because endings like that, it's all right sometimes to open doors and things like that, but
Yeah.
it becomes, if you have a finale that's resolved just through a sonic screwdriver, pretty much,
Yeah.
then it's just a bit lazy. But
Mm.
I just thought this was brilliant. I mean, I didn't expect to love this because I don't particularly love Eurovision. I've never
Okay.
watched it.
Okay.
I just thought it's the cheesy song contest that,
Yeah.
my grandparents watch and that I don't. And that's that. I've never particularly watched it. But this was just so much fun. Obviously, it's kind of, it starts as one thing, turns into completely something else. And we have basically a base under siege, like you said, Ryan, kind of like Die Hard.
Yeah.
We've got, I mean, it looks beautiful. It's obviously
Yeah.
the most expensive episode
Mm.
of Doctor Who ever made. I think there's reports of that.
Yeah.
We've got just some beautiful shots. We've got the shot of the side of the space station, and you've got 100,000 people floating into space, which is one of the most terrifying shots in Doctor Who, really.
Yeah.
Up there with obviously the Doctor freezing out in space, and then you obviously have the whole Susan scene. It kind of Five Doctors as
Mm.
well, very just quite fan servicey, but it doesn't feel, it's not Power of the Doctor level of fan service. It's
Yeah.
not like, oh yeah, we have this scene with the first, fifth, sixth, seventh, and eighth Doctors, Ace and Tegan are here. It feels a bit more organic and kind of,
Mm.
obviously we have the Susan scenes where the
Yeah.
Doctor's just visioning her in the TARDIS that we have no idea what that's about. But
No.
I mean, I'll take it. It's Carol Ann Ford returning as Susan after
Hmm.
61 years.
Pretty crazy. Yeah. Yeah.
60 and a half. It was Boxing Day 64 was the last episode of Dalek Invasion of Earth.
There you go. Good
I
knowledge.
don't remember that off the top of my head. I did look that up, but yeah, it was 26th of December 1964. So she's returned after 60 and a half years, beating William Russell's record
Yeah, of course.
between.
Yeah.
And it is pretty. I mean, obviously, Jacqueline Hill didn't return as Barbara, but she did return.
Yeah.
So all the
Yeah.
original gang did return to Doctor Who, William Hartnell included,
Yeah,
obviously in
that's
the Three
true.
Doctors.
That's a
They've
good point. Yeah.
they've all returned to Doctor Who now, which
Yeah.
is quite nice. And I do love how they cast Susan, they cast Caroline Ford as Susan, and it wasn't
Mm.
like Mrs. Flood is Susan or someone like that, because
Yeah, I
Caroline
think.
Ford is there. She's doing Big
Yeah.
Finish stuff
Yeah.
still, I think.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't really follow it to be honest, but yeah, I don't think Tom Baker does anymore. But Caroline Ford is still doing that sort of stuff. So I mean, yeah, and it's just great. It's yeah, I mean, yeah, obviously Belinda isn't amazing in this, but I don't really fault Juno Dawson too much for that. Shooty was brilliant here. I think it's worth mentioning. Shooty has been. I mean, he was good last season. I didn't
Yeah.
not like him at any point, but he has been fantastic this season. Like, I think the most kind of unnotable performance was kind of Robot Revolution, really. I mean, I guess Joy to the World, maybe, but
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
2 to 6, he's been just on really, really good form. He is like,
Mm.
probably exactly in the middle of my ranking of the Doctors, which is quite impressive after, oh, I can't bother to work it out. It's like 18 episodes, in a couple of weeks, so
Yeah.
16.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, it's not perfect. It does have some very obvious flaws, but it's just so much ridiculous fun. I can't help but love it. I think it's great.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
Yeah,
that's fair enough. Absolutely. Yeah. And as you say with Shooty, I just hope that in 2 weeks' time we aren't saying that's it for Shooty. I really hope that we do get some more because we really could be. In
Mm.
2 weeks' time, we'll be over and
yeah.
done with his Doctor,
I
which
mean,
is kind of scary to think about.
yeah, I like to think that they'll do something, if he doesn't regenerate and the fact that he's leaving is just rumors, we get like just a blank screen with like, white text, Shooty Gatwa will return as the Doctor, and then that's it.
Yeah.
Just so we have something and it's
Yes.
not just what's going to happen next.
Yeah, no, I really need some form of like text on screen at the end of the reality war that just says Doctor Who will return or Ncuti Gatwa will return as the Doctor or something, just to give us all a bit of hope because it's not always a great situation. But
I really hope that gives a good confirmation because my niece was asking me. I think it's today that she was asking me like, "Is there going to be another Doctor Who season? Is there going to be one at Christmas?" I'm like, "There isn't going to be one at Christmas, I'm afraid." But is there another season? I honestly don't know. I couldn't answer. It's
Yeah.
sad. It's
Yeah, I
really
mean,
sad.
we've had the more positive article, at least last week, from the Daily Mirror, which gave some reasonable hope, I thought, given that a pretty renowned journalist for getting Doctor Who things right is saying that even if Disney pull out, there'll still be a new season of Doctor Who in 2027. So I
Please
hope,
let
I
me
really
true.
hope so. I'm like, as cool as it looked, yes, Interstellar Song Contest looked absolutely amazing, but I'm fine with episodes that don't look that amazing and cost less money and can actually be made. Like, that's fine. That's fine. It's
Yeah,
great, but it does not make the difference between, I would prefer to have a series every year and it look like it did in 2005 than have this, but like once every 3 years or whatever it's going to be. Like, I just feel like I wish they would focus on the right things rather than all the fancy special effects because I just don't think it's necessary.
exactly. I mean, I know this is an odd comparison because we're talking about 70s, but you look at something like, say, Ark in Space, like
Mhm.
not the perhaps the best looking when it comes to the women. They look
Yeah,
pretty shoddy, I will admit that. But it's still a fantastic story and one of my top five personal favorite ones ever because
yeah,
again the story is just so good and the performances
yeah.
are excellent. So if they can,
Mhm.
as you said, concentrate on the things that actually work and find a way to work around whatever budget they have, you still have gold Doctor Who right there.
Mhm.
You're
Mhm.
set. So
Yeah,
I just hope they can
absolutely.
work something out. And as I said before, just give us more episodes, please.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
getting a little bit sick of the whole 8 episode season. I just want to go back to 10, 12, 13 episodes.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. It's a
I
real
think,
shame that it's kept going down.
yeah, I think
Mm.
Russell just doesn't know, like, he's doing these 8 episode seasons, like, like, because it's all modern and that, yet it's still episodic Monster of the Week, which is from
Mm.
20 years ago. And
Yes.
it's just a very weird, like, there is not a single show like this. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, to be fair, but I think if you're going to do episodic Monster of the Week stuff that he was doing in the 2000s, don't do 8 of them, do 15. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
I think
Yeah.
absolutely.
if there was an actual survey sent out, that was like, would you rather 6 or 8, like, high budget, Disney glossy episodes like this,
Yeah,
or 13 episodes that look, well, each with basically half the budget? I mean, I don't need to tell you what the answer to that's going to be, because
exactly.
we
Yeah,
want more
yeah,
Doctor Who. We'd rather talk about Doctor Who for 3 months
yeah.
than for 6 weeks.
Yeah, that's it. That's
Yeah.
it. Yeah, yeah. And I also feel like, as much as we didn't all love everything about Doctor Who Flux, really these last two seasons should have been structured more like that. Given the amount of episodes they had, it would have like there was still basically individual episodes within Flux, like the Sontaran episode and the Weeping Angel episode that tied into the narrative, but were still their own episodes. So you can do Monster of the Week, but have a much stronger overarching story that holds everything together. And it feels like if you're going to do an 8 or an 8 episode season, that's the model you need to do in 2025. Not what we've seen for the last two series. That's kind of been a weird mishmash of the old style, the new style, and I don't know. It doesn't feel quite right. It sort of feels like it's such a rush that we were already at the finale. Like we feels like we had hardly any episodes, and we're already at the end, basically. And I just don't know if that's the right thing to do.
Yeah, at 8 episodes, I don't know if I can call this like a full proper season of
Yeah,
television, really, with 8 episodes. It's same with Flux. I can't really call this like a proper full season of television with only just a small amount of episodes.
yeah. It is. It is weird, and when you rewatch it, and it just feels that much shorter and different to the older stuff. So, it's a bit of a shame. But anyway, we're going off on a bit of a tangent. So, no, Charlie, I'll come back to you for just some of the. I know. What did you think about the kind of Eurovision-y aspects? We had Rylan, we had Graham Norton, we had these songs. I mean, Murray wrote some songs that weren't absolutely awful. So how do we feel about the kind? I know you haven't watched a lot of Eurovision, but just the aspects of that within the story and how that kind of helped or hindered the story, I suppose.
Um, it's a very interesting question that I didn't really prepare an answer for. Because, I mean,
You're
I think
welcome.
the Eurovision part of this is almost kind of clickbait, really.
It's kind of true, yeah.
It's kind of like
Mm.
name, not quite as strong as Name of the Doctor, which is the ultimate clickbait episode,
Mm, mm.
but it's kind of just Russell did this again for social media. So people would be like, oh, look, they're doing a Eurovision episode. Let's watch it because it's it's right. Was it before Eurovision
Yeah, it
or after?
literally aired
Yeah,
the hour
like
before Eurovision. So
exactly. So
yeah,
people are going to switch on the TV before Eurovision to
yeah,
prepare for it, and they're going to see the Doctor Who Eurovision,
yes,
even if they don't care about Doctor Who. That's what it
yeah,
seems like,
yeah,
and it's kind of obvious that he's just trying to do that because why not? I'm sure he likes Eurovision,
yeah.
as do lots of people. Like I said, I've never watched Eurovision. I think you could argue that the whole the Helia storyline with the Hellions and
Mm.
the sponsor, you could argue that's kind of a social commentary on Eurovision, which is quite bold to do the hour before Eurovision on BBC. I
Yeah,
think
yeah, yeah, yeah.
fair enough to Juno Dawson if that's what she was trying to do there. I think it was done fairly well, really. It's not, we didn't have Jodie Whittaker at the end give us a CBB style lecture on a certain political topic, which makes it better than Rosa,
Oh,
I guess. So
yeah,
that's
yeah,
a point in his favor. Um, yeah, I truly I didn't pay attention to the songs, the actual Eurovision style songs as a
yeah.
whole,
Fair enough.
um, because that's not the crux of the episode.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
The
Sure.
background. I liked I quite liked the contrast of Belinda. I can't remember what she's actually saying in the scene. I've watched this 3 times. Belinda has a very, very serious moment, and in the
Yes.
background we've got the Duggadoo song playing.
Yes, yes. I
Oh,
was watching this a second time and thinking exactly that. I didn't realize how
Yeah,
much you can hear the Duggadoo song while she's talking about, I think, how she's never going to get home. She's like, I don't know
yeah,
where
yeah,
I
yeah.
am. I'm never going to
Yeah,
get
that's it.
home.
She's
I'm
realised the
trapped
doctor's
forever.
basically. She
And you're
thinks the
just
doctor's
hearing the
dead.
Duggadoo in the background. Yeah,
I think that was a brilliant bit of comedy. Actually, I think
yes,
that was
yeah,
obviously intentional.
yes,
But I found that quite hilarious that she's talking about that.
yeah,
100,000 people have just died, including the doctor.
yes,
Belinda's terrified, and that's
yeah,
playing. I thought that was actually some brilliant comedy and very
yes,
very good subtle dry humor. I quite like
yeah,
that sort of stuff.
yeah,
So yeah, that was great. But I mean, the whole Rylan Graham Norton side of things. I mean, they're celebrity cameos. I
yeah,
think
yeah,
every
yeah,
Doctor Who season has them. I
yeah,
mean, every new Who season has them pretty much.
yeah.
I can't name a season without one really.
Mm.
Maybe Flux. I don't know. Um,
Yeah. Mm.
it's hard to think of them off the
Yeah.
top of your head, but
Yes.
I feel like you've got to have them somewhere in a season. Obviously, we had Alan coming as Lux.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, yeah. You know what? I mean, this is the most Eurovision exposure I've ever had, and I quite liked the episode. So my opinion of the whole thing has improved. I quite liked the comedy of. I mean, I don't think this was intentional, but they can't say the word Eurovision in the
I know.
episode.
It was
The
very noticeable. They were like the song contest when Belinda wanted to say Eurovision. I was like, yeah,
when they're in
you're
the
not allowed to
box
say
and
that, are
just like,
you?
I've been watching the song contest since I was little. I think a little fourth wall break would have made that hilarious if she says, I've been watching the song contest. Take a little pause, look at the camera and
Yeah,
carry on.
just a little wink to camera.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah, that would
yeah,
be
yeah.
perfect, wouldn't it?
They can't say Eurovision for obvious reasons, but I mean, I thought that was quite funny how it's a Eurovision episode, but they can't say it.
Yeah,
It's,
yeah,
yeah, I mean, like I said, it's Eurovision is not the actual crux of this episode. It's a clickbait thing, so people will watch it,
yeah,
which I mean, yeah, it's a little bit dishonest, but I mean, I think the episode was still pretty good. So, like, if
yeah.
the episode was like that, but it was bad, I would feel a bit differently. But it was pretty good, and it's improved my opinion of Eurovision somewhat. Not that I really had one before, but
You'll have to tune in next year then. It's good fun. It's good fun. Would recommend.
Yeah.
So Ryan, I wanted to come to you to talk about. Well, we'll talk about Susan because that's quite a significant moment, but also what I'm going to describe as the Four to Doomsday scene of the Doctor flying in space on the confetti cannon, and just the general lack of any, let's say, any real science in the space scenes, which I feel like is a common problem for, apart from the episode Oxygen. I think that's the only story I can think of where Doctor Who really does space in a very real way. This it's all a bit silly sci-fi space, but I mean there's not really anything wrong with it. But what did you think about that scene, the whole Susan stuff? Was it a bit, I mean, I thought it was a little bit, it's just a bit out of nowhere, I suppose. I mean, I guess we can say there were those lines in the finale of the last season referencing Susan and that, so I can kind of see it. But also, then she hasn't really had a mention this whole season, and then oh, boom, hello. It was a bit jarring. So I don't know. What do you think?
Um, Ooh, where do I start off with first? The confetti cannon or Susan?
Take your pick.
Oh, well, with the confetti cannon, well, it did feel very Fort to Doomsday. I'm not gonna lie. It's basically that, but given a higher budget, it didn't bother me too much. I
Yeah,
mean, it is what it is. And honestly, it kind of work. It sort of works, even if it doesn't quite make sense in terms of what happens to the Doctor at the end of this story, which I'm sure we're going to talk about. It did feel like he was a bit, and he does make some jokes about it afterwards. And
yeah,
did I just find on a confetti can? It just feels a bit suddenly light-hearted. Yeah, it
yeah.
just. But as a moment in of itself, it wasn't like it didn't bother me too much. I mean, I do get a bit of you know, there is some kind of charm out of that Fort of Doomsday scene with the cricket ball, and there's something kind of hokey yet charming about it. It's the kind of the same thing here,
Yeah.
so it didn't bother me too much.
Okay.
Susan coming back, that is yeah, because they foreshadowed it twice last season with
Yeah.
the Devil's Cord,
True.
with him talking about Susan, and then mentioning again multiple times in the two-part
Yeah.
finale, which ended up being a red herring. So, and it does leave me wondering: is her appearance here? Is it just for the sake of a cameo, or is it larger setup at play for the finale? I mean, it's got to be right. I mean,
She's
if
got to
it
be in the
isn't,
finale,
and
surely.
if it, yeah, if it isn't, and it is just a cameo, that's gonna be weird. Like, it's a companion, the Doctor's granddaughter, the first ever companion in Doctor Who history, and it's only just a cameo appearance. If she doesn't end up being in the finale, it is gonna feel a bit out of place. But it was good seeing Carol Ann back again as Susan.
Yeah.
Again, it does raise some questions of what she's been doing all this time when there's been two cataclysmic Gallifreyan events
Very
going
true.
on.
Yeah.
Like, what's
Yeah.
happened? It does lead me to wonder, did the Master really destroy Gallifrey and the Timeless Children? Or was it, you know,
I'm very intrigued for the explanations, especially with the Rani as to how she survived. I really hope it isn't just a "I just survived, ha ha ha." I really hope there's a proper explanation for that because
yeah.
both her and Susan should be dead logically, based on the whole of especially the Timeless Children and all the Master did there. Like that's definitely should have been it.
It does raise a lot of questions. But again, I'm assuming we're going to talk endlessly about this when we talk about these for the last two but
Yeah.
episodes. But yeah, it does have me curious. I will say this. I mean, everything to do with Susie, it is not it's nice how they managed to sort of try and tie it in with the Doctor missing Gallifrey, missing Susan, and the weight of the death of going through the death of Gallifrey again,
Yeah.
well, twice now, weighing on his soul and how it impacts his decision at the end, even if it's not as super clean or properly built up as it should be. Well, I think we'll talk
Yeah.
about. Do you think we should talk
Yeah.
about
Go for it.
Black
Yeah. Yeah.
Doctor?
Yeah.
Um, I'm not against when the Doctor goes full on dark. Like, I love that moment in Face the Raven where he says to
Mm.
Ashilda, "The Doctor isn't here right now.
Yeah.
You're here with me," and
Yeah.
all
Yeah. Yeah.
that. It's
Yeah.
so good, but I don't know if this was properly built up because yes, with everything that's happened to those people, but he did say something like, "They're not dead. I can find a way to get them back." And yet he goes through this anyway. I mean, if he
Yeah.
thought they were all dead, then sure, that would probably give him a logical reason to go full on dark. But
Mm.
him mention that, "Oh, they're not dead. I can find a way." It does feel a little bit,
Yeah, it's basically punishing him for wanting to kill all the 3 trillion people, which sure is
yeah,
really, really bad. But ultimately, once the Doctor has disabled the Delta Wave, kid's not doing anything or killing anybody or
it's
anything.
not threat.
So I do agree. I can kind of see it, and I do get like the parallels with Gallifrey and all of that stuff. But it does feel a little bit kind of over the top almost for that
Yeah,
sequence,
it's a
and
properly
just out of
built
the
up.
blue.
Yeah, because again, if he thought all those people had died, then I can definitely buy it more
Yeah,
and why he would go through such extremes. But the fact that he already knows they're not dead and
yeah.
that he can find a way to say them, it just feels, I don't know, it just feels a little bit like, I think the moment itself is great, don't get me wrong, and Shooty is just firing on all cylinders and it's all
Yeah.
good, but I just wish there was like a better build up to that to
Mm,
justify it. I mean, you look at
mm.
Face the Raven, there is perfect justification why he goes full on dark.
Yeah,
Clara's about to die,
yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
it's
Absolutely. No, I
yeah.
agree. I agree. Yeah, I don't know, Charlie. What do you think
Yeah.
about the whole Dark Doctor moment?
It, I love a good Dark Doctor moment. I can't
Yeah,
lie.
yeah,
They're hilarious. They're not hilarious. I don't know where that word came from. They're great to watch.
yeah.
Yeah, Face the Raven, Waters of Mars,
Mm,
um, all great. Um, it's a little bit out of character for the 15th Doctor. Like,
mm,
10, 11, and 12 were all kind of, it was quite a consistent thing that they had a lot of darkness underneath them.
yeah.
Well, 9 too, but that was also on the surface. Um, the whole scene in Dalek was obviously very
Yeah.
dark from it. But that
Mm,
was kind of Time War PTSD, pretty much. I mean,
mm,
that's the whole sort of thing of the first 10 seasons of New Who.
yeah.
It's the Time War and the fallout of it, and the Doctor being a much angrier person underneath all of that. But it seems like we didn't really have that with 13, and 14 kind of put it all to bed. And that
Yeah, that
was
was the whole
that. I
point of
generated.
14.
Yeah,
Yes,
14 was, I mean, he
exactly.
went to stay with Donna, all of that was great, and it ended. But now it just seems like they're bringing it back up again. And it's like,
Yeah.
oh no, Shooty's Doctor is still annoyed because the Master killed all of Gallifrey again. But
Mm.
it just doesn't feel as earned. And it's just kind of,
Yeah.
the Time War was a big deal because Doctor Who was gone for 16 years and it came back,
Mm,
and the audience are slowly learning that Gallifrey, all the Time Lords are dead, and it's
yes.
from the Time War. That's a big deal, but it just happened again in 2020. No one really cared, and
Yeah.
it doesn't feel as earned, and it just feels like a poor man's Time Lord victorious moment, and it just doesn't hit the same. As much as I love Shooty's Doctor, and I think Shooty's an amazing actor, it just feels
Mm,
weirdly out of place. And if this wasn't filmed and written, and obviously before season one came out,
yeah.
then I would think it's a sort of Russell backlash of people complaining about Shooty crying every episode, being like, hey, "You thought no, he actually does this too."
Yeah.
But no, it was written before season one came out. Obviously, we have
Yeah.
the reshoot from the finale,
Yeah.
which we don't know what that is, but that's not this. This is just
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
very weird and out of character. And I think,
Hmm.
it, it's kind of just, yeah, I don't know. It's a bit weird and a bit out of character. But I mean, it's an excuse for Shooty to show off his acting. And, he is great. He was
Mm,
absolutely killing it this episode, I think. And
yeah.
I'm sure he'll continue to do so in the finale, whatever on earth that's going to bring us. But yeah, as well, the whole Belinda being like, "That's not my doctor," and she looks quite scared of
Yeah.
him during scenes, and then at the end, they're all back to normal. And it's almost like a sitcom where no matter what crazy stuff happens in the episode, everything must reset at the end of the episode.
Yeah.
Every episode starts with the characters in the exact same positions as they were before.
Yeah.
Doctor Who shouldn't need to be like that.
No.
We have an 8 episode, kind of story arc serialized type thing. I
Hmm.
mean, we don't, but that's the
Mm,
point.
yeah.
It's almost sitcom like in that they just hug it out at the end and it's all fine. Let's go on to a new adventure. Or not,
Yeah.
because we don't know what that ending was.
Well,
Not
yeah.
the Rani ending, but obviously we have the ending where,
Yeah, the doors, how his doors explode. That was insane. Like that,
yeah,
that, if anything, that was more of like an exciting shock moment for me than the
exactly.
actual Rani reveal. I
Yeah.
was like, whoa,
We,
okay, geez, this
yeah.
is
We have
serious.
the Graham Norton hologram being like, Earth was destroyed. And
Yeah.
which is a bit weird because how would humans exist if the Earth was destroyed in 2025? Because we're not among the stars yet in 2025.
Yeah,
I,
it's a
I
good
found that
point.
very weird. Like, if the Earth was destroyed in 2025, how do humans exist here? Like, that was a bit of a weird thing,
Yeah.
and I didn't really understand that. But I mean, it was a cool moment, the sort of horror of, oh no, Earth actually is gone. And they
Yeah.
try and go there and, it just explodes. And I
Yeah.
feel like it's not going to be an exact continuation of that on Saturday, and it's just
No,
going
I
to be a
agree.
a hard opening of the Doctor in this weird gold room. We've seen the pictures, haven't we, of the
Yeah, this
Holy Trinity
dystopian
gathered.
world, like
Yeah,
dystopian Earth, ruled by
yeah,
Conrad and the
and we
Ranis, and
the
it's all very odd.
dinosaur, the
Yes.
dinosaur skeletons. We have
Yeah.
the. I mean,
Yeah.
I watched the trailer again earlier, and we have a shot of Mel, and there's kind of houses like falling down around her.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on there,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
yeah, we have no idea what's actually going to happen in the finale, and I think as scared as I am that it's not going to be that good, I'm. I mean, you've got to be excited for it,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it's new Doctor Who, and it is a big deal because it's a finale, and a finale will always be a big deal. I wasn't excited for the Vanquishers, but I was looking forward to it because I was like, what on earth's going to happen? I'm excited for every finale really,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
we'll have to see. But yeah,
Yeah. I mean, I think probably the even though Empire of Death was terrible, I think the most let down I've been by a finale was the Battle of Ranskorav Kolos because it wasn't a
yeah.
finale of any real note
Oh,
I
in the
oh,
slightest.
think
oh, that.
most of Series 11 crushed me so much that I didn't really care that the finale was that bad. I think
Yeah.
Hellbent for me,
Yeah.
just because I mean I know you like Hellbent, Elliot, but
I do like
I
it.
Heaven
Yes.
Sent is so good, best episode of the
Mm.
21st century, and then you follow it with Hellbent. I
Yeah,
That
I'm
is the most letdown.
I'm mixed on Hellbent. There are moments in it that I absolutely love and think are beautifully written, and yet there's the other half of it that just kind of drives me a little bit nuts and doesn't quite feel in line with Face the Raven and Heaven Sent thematically. Sort of, it's a bit, yeah, it's a bit of a weird one, but yeah, Battle of Anskar, worst modern Doctor episode
Yeah.
by far. I think I've talked about that endlessly in the
Yeah,
past,
we
but
won't. Yeah. It's just
yeah,
really
just
bad. And
oh,
maybe we'll do a pod specifically on that episode in the future, just for have a little
oh,
known session. I can't wait.
oh,
It'll be a great time.
oh,
Absolutely, absolutely.
oh, and I
Yeah,
almost threw up
and
a little bit in my mouth there. Just the thought of that episode.
yeah. Well, there you
Oh,
go. That's
I mean,
in the depth of the Wilderness Years two. The Wilderness Years two will
yeah,
reach that point where we've got nothing else to do apart from talk about the
yeah.
Battle of Ranskar Kolos.
I mean,
no,
if we're
no.
patient, we could wait till like 2042. We'll get a Series 11 collection set,
There we go. Yeah,
and we'll talk about it on there, and we'll have a look at the Chris Chibnall and Jodie Whittaker in conversations.
I
I
can't
can't
wait.
wait for the Chibnall one in what, like 17 years. It'll be
I
great.
mean, but I don't think, if anything, I don't actually think it'll be that interesting because he's not going to say anything. He's not going to go, "Oh yeah, actually, my Doctor was rubbish." He's just going to go, "Yeah, I don't really care what anybody thinks. I really enjoyed writing it, and I was really
Yeah,
happy with it."
yeah. It's
So
Yeah, I mean, it takes like about 30 years for them to sort of say, yeah, this was bad. Like, I mean, like we've said, they can absolutely just hate on season 22 and there'll be no consequences. They
yeah,
can't really do that with modern Doctor Who yet. I
yes,
think,
yeah,
maybe in like 2050, the cast can start saying, yeah, this was bad, but you
yeah.
just can't do it yet.
Yeah, no, I agree. I absolutely agree. Right, well, let's come on to the finale then, and what's going to happen.
Oh,
We have no next time trailer, so that's quite significant. But we do have now a 30-second clip that was posted on YouTube and social media, plus like the 10-second clip from Unleashed. We have some photos, which, if anything, the photos released have just added more questions than answers. Like, for example, why is Belinda holding baby Poppy from Space Babies? Like, I have no words for where that is going. But it has been pointed out on social media the comparisons between the episode name Space Babies and the episode name Unearthly Child, which are quite comparable names if you think about it. So whether there's a Susan connection there, and actually, is Poppy actually going to become Susan, or is she going to become the Rani, or I don't know who is the third member of the Trinity? It's as I think we've said, it feels like there is about a million different aspects going into this finale, and it feels like how on earth are they going to pull off all of them? And the answer is they won't. That there'll be some threads that are left, and there'll be some things that aren't focused on as much as we want. But Ryan, what's your theory? What do you think is going to happen?
so there's so much. I mean, I've written down here all the things we're going to get in the finale. We're going to have this new alternate reality
Yep,
that the Dr. Belinda are stuck in.
yep,
Ruby's back. The unit team's back.
yep,
Mel's back. Maybe Susan's back,
yep,
probably. We have the space babies back. I mean, Russell's mentioned that the pantheon of discord. The gods of chaos are going to
Yes.
get
For
involved
some
somehow.
reason, yeah.
Yeah, we don't know why. Maybe the Time Lords as well with the Rani going
Yeah.
on. Who knows?
Hmm.
Maybe the Timeless Child, the fugitive Doctor. Maybe that's going to get touched upon. We don't know.
Yeah.
And it just raised questions. Also, like he said that the two Ranis are one person, and that's the
Yes.
first of the unholy trinity, and then we
Yeah.
have Conrad as the second. Who's going to be the third one? Is it going to be this new big bad? Is it one of the pantheon of gods? Like, is it going to be the Black Guardian, or is it going to be just another big bad Time Lord? That is it
Omega.
going to be the? Is it? Yeah, I was going to say, or with the Master because they did set up the gold tooth in the
Yeah,
giggle.
true, true. Will that be revealed?
I
Yeah.
hope it's not the Master. I really hope it's not
Yeah.
because we've
Yeah.
already had him so many times. We
Yeah.
don't really need
Yeah.
to see him come back.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like, who is the third member? Is it Susan gone bad? Is
Yes.
it Raptalon? Is it Barusa? As I said, is it Omega? I mean, that would be insane if it was Omega. if
Yeah.
he if he
Yeah.
comes back. I mean, yes, that admittedly, even though I'm not jazzed about the Rani coming back, Omega coming back, I wouldn't mind it. Like, I think Omega's an interesting character. I find
Mhm.
Omega more interesting than the Rani
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I just love the backstory of Omega that he
Hmm.
created time travel basically,
Yeah.
and yet he felt like he was abandoned, stuck in the antimatter universe, and
Hmm.
has this tragic backstory. And I loved how he was used in the Three Doctors.
Yeah.
The less said about Arc of Infinity, the better. But
Absolutely.
if he comes back and he is the ultimate villain of the finale, and the Rani is the two Ranis are serving him and wanting to
Yeah.
bring him back, that would be kind of cool. But it's just like, how are you going to serve these villains? You got two Ranis, you've got Conrad, and you've got this third big bad, whether it's Omega, Rassilon, or whatever,
Yeah.
and you got all this other stuff going on. And again, who knows if they're going to reference? Because I don't know if this is going to be a more pantheon centric finale or
Yeah.
that if
I
it's
can't
more
work
to
it
do
out.
with Gallifrey and the Time Lords. If it is,
Yeah.
and there's all this other stuff going on, it's
Mhm.
like, how are you going to try and balance everything? The thing is, with the last finale, the season one finale, it was really two things really going on. Everything to do with Sutek and the Susan Triad thing was connected to Sutek. Everything was
Yeah.
Sutek, and yet also the Ruby Sunday mystery,
Yes.
and two things that were fighting for screen time, and that was the real problem. I've said a million times before. The Sutek stuff was interesting. The Ruby Sunday stuff, in hindsight, was bad. And it
Hmm.
just sank the
Hmm.
whole thing down.
Yeah.
And it said that was two things. This finale, it feels like there's so many things going on at the same time. It's just like, how are you going to, you know, find space for
Yeah.
all of them? And
Yeah.
add on to that the rumors that maybe Ncuti Gat was leaving and this is going to be his final story. It's just, how are
Yeah.
you going to give all of these things time to breathe? And, because
Yeah.
how are you going to support Mel coming back and having her rematch with the Rani? How are you going to balance Susan reuniting with the Doctor and Ruby reuniting with the Doctor and meeting Belinda? And you know, it's strange. And
Yeah. And we know Wishworld's only 44 minutes long as well, so it's not like the first part's extended. The second part might be an hour, so in reality, the maximum we've got is an hour and 45 minutes to tackle all the. It's funny because you listed off all those different things, like the Pantheon and the different villains and that, and didn't even mention the Doctor and Belinda in that list. Like the two main characters are almost like the extra bits. So it's nuts, and it could be Shooty's last episode. It's insane.
yeah, are they going? Are the Doctor Belinda going to have enough screen time to allow?
Yeah, and I mean, what's going to happen to Belinda? Like, is she still going to be a companion at the end of the series? Like, surely, if like the Doctor's going to regenerate, surely they're not going to keep Belinda on. Like, you would have thought they'd start fresh. So it's just crazy.
Yeah, as I say with Ruby as well, like she's
Yeah.
going to come back, she's going to reunite with the Doctor and see Belinda for the first time. Is
Hmm.
she going to stay on as a main companion as well? Are they building up to her staying with the Doctor as well? There's just so much going on, and
Yeah.
and again, who with Susan and the Ranis and maybe another bad Time Lord involved. Are they trying to bring back Gallifrey again and say that everything the Master didn't really happen or was mostly a failure? If that is the case, I hope so, because I really did not like what Chibnall did with Gallifrey, because it felt like it undid a lot of you know, the progress of Day of the
Yeah.
Doctor. Because with Day of the
Yeah.
Doctor, you want to say the children of Gallifrey, and it's like, nope, they're all dead again. It just felt very mean spirited and cruel for
Yeah.
Chibnall to have done that. And I'm hoping, as convoluted as it is, I'm hoping we get something like that in the finale. That he finds some way to save the good people of Gallifrey, or some Gallifrey is restored in some form or fashion, and yeah, at least that would be one positive that we
Yeah.
could get out of
It's true.
this.
It's true. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
And again, it just raises another thing. Like, if we are touching upon, Time Lords, Gallifrey, Omega, Barusa, whatever, like, if
Yeah.
that is the third villain, the Ranius, and all so forth, is the Timeless Child going to get touched upon again? How's that going to connect to Susan? And is the Fugitive Doctor going to come back? There's so much happening. I mean, at least as I said, with the season 1 finale, only two big things going on. With this, there's like a million different big things going on, and
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't
That's it.
see them trying to fit it all in 2 episodes. Three or four, possibly, but not two.
Yeah.
Not
It all feels pretty nuts. I mean, I think like I'm still quite excited for this episode. Like I would take the prospect in an episode like this any day over a whole load of random Chibnall episodes that were just terrible, for example. Even if this story turns out to be awful, or like it all falls apart and there's just too much in it, I'm still excited about it. I'm still hoping that it's good, and there's so much potential about it. It's just whether they can really put it all together.
Yeah, I will say this: even though it has all the makings of a huge spectacular mess, at least it would be a fascinating mess.
That's it. Yeah.
At least there's that. At least it won't be like a. I mean, as I said, with Hellbent, for example, I have mixed feelings about it, but that was fascinating. At least there was
Yeah.
at least half of it I was hooked by, even if the other half drove me nuts. But I was hooked. It even kind of, to some extent, the last finale with the Sutek one.
Yeah.
As much as I did not like the whole Ruby Sunday mystery interfering with the Sutek stuff, it was still fascinating. I mean, was Battle of Ranskorath Colossus fascinating? No, not really.
No.
It was just an
No.
absolute bore fest from
Even
beginning
even
to
the
end.
Vanquishers at least had something going for it. Like I feel like that's what we were doing 4 years ago. We were talking about how that's got a million plot threads to wrap up that it was never going to be able to, and it
Yeah.
obviously never did. So it's
I
no
mean, yeah,
surprise.
I think it's, I'd rather have the plot threads be Susan and the Rani than Swarm, Azure, and the Grand Serpents, like just random
True.
plucked out of nowhere. At
Yeah,
least this one has kind of legacy connections to Doctor
yeah,
Who, whereas Vanquishers are just like nobody cares about any of this.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly,
At least
exactly.
there's some connections to old Doctor Who, but
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
So your predictions then, Charlie, for the finale?
I mean, I've seen some theories. I'm not sure whether they're based on leaks or not. I'm hoping they're not, because I'm not, I don't look at leaks or anything. I've seen some
Yeah.
people saying they think the gold tooth was picked up by the Rani,
Okay.
and they're using it to put the essence of the master into Conrad, which I don't think that's too crazy. Very end of time with the whole master resurrection thing, but you're going to
Yeah.
need to find a
Okay.
way to do it at some point, because
Mhm.
that's where the master is at the moment. You need to bring him back somehow
Yeah.
at some point. He can't just stay there forever. And I think that's not a crazy way to do it. I mean, it's Doctor Who. It's ridiculous, isn't it?
Yeah.
Also, it makes sense for the Holy Trinity to be these big figures. Like let's say we have Omega, the Rani Omega, and Conrad Clark.
I know it's a bit ridiculous, isn't it? Yeah.
What kind of Trinity is that? Like, it
Yes.
makes sense to have the Master, the Rani, and Omega. So I
Mm.
kind of see it. I think it doesn't really make sense if the third member of this unholy Trinity is some like huge big bad, and then we have Conrad Clark on the same level as them. It's just a bit weird. Um,
Yeah.
but I don't really think there's a place for Conrad in this, to be honest. I don't
No.
like why are you bringing him back? There's no need for this. Like, and why do you need this unholy trinity? Just have the Rani. Just just do a two-parter with the Rani causing chaos,
Yeah.
and just let that. It'd just be so much more organic than forcing these. Like, it's again, it's social media writing. It's I'll do this. I'll put the unholy trinity so people talk about what the third member could be. It's just
Yeah.
there's just
Yeah.
no need for it,
I
really. I
know.
mean, I hope the Time Lords don't come back. I really, I kind of hope they'd be gone after Hellbent, really, and then Chibnall did what he did.
Mm.
Like you said, Ryan, completely undid Day of the Doctor, which was, I mean, I think to this day the biggest episode in Doctor Who's history.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Completely undid it just like that. Oh,
Yeah. So
Gallifrey's gone.
yeah, it
Sorry, guys.
was really dumb.
If Gallifrey is restored, I'd quite like that, but I think they never should have come back in the first place, to be honest. I mean, I think Russell did the right thing, 20 years ago, wiping them all out in the first place, to be honest. And Day of the Doctor was a great payoff. 8 years later, yeah. I mean, this is becoming more of a kind of I don't like Chibnall for doing this kind of rant. But
Yeah.
we've had enough of those, a few years ago.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, as you guys were saying all these things, I became less and less excited for the finale because I am like, oh my God, yeah, we have all of these things. And yet, my least, my like, I think about the finale, I think about what's going to happen. I never think about the Doctor.
Yeah.
The Doctor is the least of my concerns here because
Yeah.
at the end of the day, I mean, my biggest concern is he going to regenerate?
Yeah.
And if so, I mean, if
Mm.
he is, it's going to be open ended because they, it won't be a surprise 16th Doctor, as crazy as that would be.
I can't believe that would actually happen without given how literally everything about this season seems to be leaking. I'm pretty certain that the name of the new actor or actress playing the Doctor would leak if
Yeah,
it had happened.
unless it's a regeneration like Stolen Earth Journey's End, where we just have Shooty regenerating into Shooty again, or bi-generating into two Shooties.
Oh
Please
Would
could we
boy.
get
be
rid of
the most,
bi-generation?
I think,
Oh,
the most RTD2 thing ever. Because I'd like to talk about bi-generation as well. Why the hell does it happen? We don't have an explanation for what bi-generation is, why it's happened. Like, because we've seen how many regenerations have we seen in Doctor Who? Like 30? Because,
yeah.
we've had
Yeah.
the Doctor, the Master, Romana,
Mm.
River, we've had lots of,
Yeah.
different type of
Yeah.
Yeah.
regenerations in Doctor Who.
Yeah.
We've only had two of these bi-generations, and they happen to be 2 years apart, out of universe. Why is he doing this? What's the point of bi-generation besides just, oh look, there's two doctors and look, Tennant can go and live with the nobles and it's all a happy ending.
Yeah.
And he's just like, why do we need two Ranis? It's just it's not necessary.
Yeah,
It's
I think it's a dumb idea. I think the
weird.
only explanation that you could give is the whole salt thing in Wild Blue Yonder
Yeah,
means the universe is all messed
yeah,
up,
yeah,
and so weird stuff happens like this, and that's
yeah,
why it happens now, hasn't before. But I still
yeah,
think it's a dumb idea,
yeah.
and
And
I want
yeah,
it to stop.
yeah, we don't even know the mechanics either. Like what happens to Tennant's 14? Does he grow old and die like a human? Or does he regenerate and go back to the point where he bi-generated, but now he's Shooty? Has Shooty lived a life as 14? We don't
Yeah.
That
like
was always the implication I took, which
uh,
then confuses
yeah,
with the two Ranis. Does it mean
yeah,
that Mrs. Flood is giving all these experiencing all this, which then the Rani should
yeah.
remember what Mrs. Flood did? Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
It's not been explained why it happens, and it really annoys me that it probably never will be, and it's purely for fan service, and that
Yeah,
it grinds my gears a little bit.
yeah,
But I mean, if there is a regeneration, I mean, there's three possibilities. It's open ended. He regenerates into himself, or he bi-generates into himself,
yeah.
which I think open ended would just be unsatisfying, and the other two are just ridiculous, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I my sort of worry is that especially the open-ended one kind of gives the most uncertainty about the future of the show because it goes, we don't have a doctor essentially at the end. If it's open-ended, you end that season with no series commissioned, no doctor, you have nothing.
Yeah.
So I really hope it doesn't end up like that.
Yeah, if they do Wilderness 2, I'd rather it be like Survival.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
you know,
Yeah.
yeah,
they saved Doctor and Belinda or whatever, or just the Doctor goes off in the TARDIS, and that's that. I want the last sound to be the TARDIS, not regeneration energy sound effects,
yeah.
basically.
Yeah, I want just him, Belinda, and Ruby to just sort of walk off into the sunset. Panago Matters. Then we pan to the sky. We hear the TARDIS. I'll see the
Yep.
TARDIS go by. I mean, that is if we get an open ending, that is the one I'd want. I don't want a mid regeneration because it just kind of feels a little bit like it just makes it too bit of a cruel thing to end for the audience also because it's
Yeah.
like an
Yeah.
open-ended thing like oh he's going to be regenerating is he going to be no we just
Yeah. And it
what's
feels
going
like
to
best
be
best case scenario, we find out 18 months later at Christmas next year. It's like that's probably the earliest we would find out
Yeah.
and have
Yeah.
that scene sort of the end of that scene, which just is too long if you want to do a big cliffhanger like that.
And
yeah
if you just have a doctor, like, it might not be that the scene's completed. We might just have a new doctor show up,
Yeah.
like in 2005. And
That's true.
then you'll get all the stupid theories like, oh, what if there's doctors in between them? And this is a doctor, this is actually the 27th doctor, and we've got loads in between. Big Finish will go crazy. I'd rather, if we do have an open ended regeneration, the scene be completed.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
if it is Shooty and that walk off into the distance, either we get another Shooty season,
Hmm.
which obviously I'd be great with,
yeah
or we actually do have a mini regeneration scene like Night of the Doctor, where Shooty shows up and regenerates into the 16th Doctor, ready for a new season. Because I just don't want loads of theories like, oh, what if there's a Doctor in between these two Doctors? And
Mm.
it's like season 6B, with Troughton,
Yeah.
because obviously that
Yeah.
was open ended, and we just get Pertwee, and it's oh no, he actually worked for the division in between these two doctors, and that's where the
Oh my
fugitive
dear.
doctor is, and
Yeah.
that's
yeah
why she got her memory wiped after. That's why they don't remember each other, and
Yeah.
yeah,
No, it's not good.
I don't want stuff like that. I'd
Yeah.
rather just a clean
yeah
ending
Hmm.
and just finality, and just,
Hmm.
I mean, for all we know, I've seen fan theories that I would quite like to be true. That the whole reason why we're not getting any news, and the whole reason these rumors exist, is marketing,
Yes.
because the whole point of the
Yeah.
season is
Mhm.
the Earth ends on May 24th, 2025.
Yeah.
I would love it if actually, no, the day saved, it's all reversed.
Yeah.
The day after the finale, they announce season 3 with Shooty 2027. We're filming tomorrow.
Yeah.
Great stuff.
Yes. Yeah.
That's
Uh,
the dream.
yeah.
please
Absolutely.
please
Absolutely. Yeah.
if we do get an ending again, I just hope it's like a happily ever after sort of walk into the sunset kind of thing. I just don't want it to be this. Oh, is he regenerating? Who is the next doctor gonna be? We don't know. It could happen, even if we don't know the answers right now. It
Yeah.
just feels
Yeah.
so cruel, to be honest, if they did something like that. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, I'd rather again just have a walk survival kind of ending. And
Yeah.
you're mentioning about leaks. I can't think. This has got to be another year in a row we've had this many
It's
leaks. I mean,
ridiculous.
Series
Seriously.
12, a lot of
Yeah.
stuff was leaked from that.
Yeah.
The 60th anniversary specials, last year, this year, this has been so many leaks,
Yes.
honestly. Like,
It is insane.
Sutek leaked. I think the Rani leaked. I mean, I've looked
Yeah.
afterwards, and yet the Rani leaked. The
Yeah.
Midnight sequel leaked, and Paul Conrad turning out to be a villain leaked. It
Yeah.
was. I
Yeah.
mean, I think the only one that hasn't had that many leaks was Series 11. I think the only thing that was leaked about it was that the Dalek was going to be
Yeah.
in the last one, and
There was
that was
nothing to
it.
leak about it
Yeah,
because it was so
there's no. I
uninspiring.
was just about to say there's
Exactly.
nothing to leak because it's just nothing episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah, like who's going to show up in the finale? Sim
Yeah.
Shah. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's not going to be the most like headline grabbing news story, is it?
Yeah.
It's
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
it's
Absolutely.
ridiculous. These leaks. There's clearly doing something wrong there. I mean, they need to get better security on this, surely.
Yeah, no, it's really poor. I don't know what they can do, but they need to do something about it because I agree. And the problem is so many people share it around on the internet that sometimes it's quite hard to avoid some of these things. So I've certainly heard stuff in
Mhm.
the past that is just unavoidable because it's so commonly shared on social media. And if you unless you basically don't go on social media for a year, like you're just gonna find
Yeah,
stuff out, unfortunately, which is just a
yeah.
real shame.
I mean, I'm not particularly on any Doctor Who social media these days
Hmm.
because the only thing, like each of my social medias, I have a very specific thing that shows up, and it's literally my entire like
Yeah,
for you or whatever.
yeah, yeah,
Twitter was Doctor Who, and I don't
yeah,
go on Twitter anymore.
yeah.
Obviously, if you want Doctor Who leaks, you can go onto Reddit, but
Yeah,
you
no
know,
problem. Yeah,
I feel like as long as I don't go on Twitter, I won't be leaked
yeah,
about Doctor Who, and that's quite nice because
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I as
Yeah,
well, I have no opinion. I have no idea what everyone else thinks of an episode as I'm watching it or
Mm,
after I've watched it. So there's no bias.
yeah.
I knew I
Mm,
didn't love Story in the Engine, even though that was quite unpopular. I know I love this episode, which is quite unpopular. It just kind of eliminates that bias and doesn't make me
yeah.
think any differently going into an episode. But
Mhm.
I remember I think it was 2021 when it leaked that David Tennant would be the 14th Doctor and that Catherine
yeah,
Tate was returning. And
Yeah,
I made a YouTube video about it because I had my channel, I was making YouTube videos
yeah,
about Doctor
yeah,
Who back then. And I said, this could happen, guys. And I got absolutely flamed in the comments. Everyone was saying, no, this is ridiculous. This is stupid. No, don't say that. And then about a month later, David Tennant is the 14th Doctor, which sounded ridiculous a month before, but it happened. And that's just how annoying leaks are because I wish I didn't know
yeah,
and I
yeah.
wish it was. I mean,
And,
they did a social media announcement, didn't they? So we knew that it was going to happen in Power of the
yeah,
Doctor, really. But
yeah.
it would
yeah,
have been crazy if it was a surprise.
Mm,
yeah,
yeah,
and with all these leaks that have been happening with these last few seasons, the only time I can think of more out of control leaks was when Name of the Doctor got accidentally shipped a few weeks early on Blu-ray in other
yeah,
countries, and there was that. And
yeah,
then the first 5 episodes of Series 8 got leaked black and white, unfinished versions of
yeah,
them. It
yeah,
was that
yeah.
was
It's
insane back then.
even the first ever episode. Rose got leaked like 3 weeks in advance. I'm pretty sure onto the internet. There was a version of it that went out weeks before it aired. So Doctor Who basically the whole of New Who's had a really terrible history for leaks and spoilers and all of it. And maybe there's just nothing they can do about it. I don't know. But anyway, we should probably bring our conclusion towards a close. So before we give our rankings, I'm just gonna throw over to Bill, who's recorded a little feature just discussing his thoughts on it. So let's hear from Bill.
So yeah, it was another great episode. It's another episode from this current series that I don't have anything negative to really say about it. It starts off kind of as you would expect it to go in terms of like a space Eurovision episode where it's a bit campy, a bit glamour and full of glamour and glitz and all that kind of stuff and sparkling. And then it takes like a real sudden, very dark turn when I can't remember his name, but the main baddie kind of comes along and deactivates the shielding for the space station, and you've got all these crowds of people being sucked off into space and about to be frozen. It's quite strange, like how just quickly it all kind of goes from one tone to the other. But it's done really well, I think. And I just love the fact that, with the Doctor, for example, I love the fact that, we get to see that darker side of him when he is confronting the baddie later on and making him suffer almost for his actions. And, I think it's great to kind of touch on the Doctor's darker side, especially when he feels like he's lost his friends, he is all on his own, he's been put in a very near-death experience, a very, very, he could have died potentially if things had gone differently. And so, yeah, it quite understandably puts him in a position where he wants to get revenge on this guy, and he wants to make him suffer. And, it takes Belinda walking into the room and thereby reminding the Doctor of the fact that he's gone too far to make him stop, basically. And I think that's done really well. Ncuti does a great job in terms of acting that. I would say this episode, probably one of his strongest performances yet. Not to say that he's not put in consistently very good performances throughout his era, because he has, but like especially I think in this latest season, I think he's established himself as a doctor, I think, and what his own take on the character is like by this point, and he's very confident within the part now, which is really good to see. And I really hope that, you know, the rumours going around that he is potentially leaving after this series finale, I hope that's all just nonsense and doesn't happen, because I would really love to see him do at least another season, if, you know, and just continue this amazing just streak. Again, not to say that his performances before were bad. I mean, they were very good anyway, but like especially with this current season, I feel like he's really stepped it up a notch and just consistently been really good, like throughout all of it. Obviously, there's two big elephants in the room. Susan, I think her return was done quite well. I liked the fact that they did bring Caroline Ford back, and I liked the fact that she was part of those little flashbacks, kind of, you know, of her in the Doctor's memory, telling the Doctor, oh, you know, come on, you need to get to the bottom of this. And then when he's going too far, there's also like that projection of Susan saying to him, no, this is wrong, you shouldn't be doing this, you need to stop. I really hope that, I mean, I think it is quite likely that Susan is going to play some kind of part in the finale, because I don't see why you would get Caroline Ford back for just these quick, like, little flash, like, quick little scenes in this episode, and then not bring her back for the finale. So I think she's going to probably be in the finale, even if that's like towards the end of the reality war or something. I think that would be really good to see, like, her and the Doctor finally reunited. Obviously it's kind of happened in Big Finish, but I mean finally reunited on screen. And yeah, maybe that's how, hopefully, like, as long as there's no regeneration, maybe that's how the season ends, with the two of them reunited. And then obviously there is the big reveal of who Mrs. Flood is, the Rani, which I know probably Ryan probably won't have been too happy with, and you'll probably have seen a lot of that on the main kind of section of this podcast. I myself, I have to be honest, I was kind of expecting something like this since they started kind of bigging her up as a potential mystery in, like, the Church on Ruby Rose. I always thought, you know, because it's just one of those cliches of, like, every time there's this mysterious character that comes along, for years and years, fans have been speculating, oh, could it be the Rani? It never has been up until now. And so I find that quite funny, that Russell, like, finally decided to just have the Rani come back. I like the fact that, you know, they had the bi-generation from Mrs. Flood to the new Rani, played by Archie Punjabi, I think her name is. And I mean, they're both brilliant, don't get me wrong, but, like, Archie specifically, even though she literally so far has only had, like, mere moments of screen time, she's instantly very Rani-like, very confident in the role, and yeah, she's just going to turn out to be a great villain, I feel. And so I just really hope that the finale all comes together and we don't get a repeat of last year's series finale, where it all starts off pretty good with the first half and then just all falls to pieces by the end of the second. I really hope that this finale sticks the landing right from the beginning of the first episode, Wish World, to the very last shot of the second, The Reality War. I just really hope that, you know, it's a satisfying conclusion to the season. And yeah, it's safe to say that, like, with this season having been as good as it has been so far, I really want the finale to be, you know, worth it, worth all the hype. We'll have to see, because like the Rani kind of has a bad reputation where the character herself, I think, is pretty good. And Kato Moro obviously always played her very well, a lot of kind of camp, but like, but like really kind of good villainous venom. But then the stories that she would often appear in, like the Mark of the Rani, Time in the Rani, and obviously I think Dimensions in Time might be kind of nice, or at least kind of hinted at, going by what they say in Unleashed. None of those three stories are like that good in terms of Doctor Who stories. So it's like Rani herself as a character is great, but the stories that she's been in so far have always been pretty like average at most, maybe a bit below average with quite a few of them. I've not heard much of her Big Finish stuff. I've recently listened to the Rani Elite, and I do feel like that is fairly sort of average story again. I just hope that with Wishworld and Reality War that we don't get another Rani story that's at least average, maybe a bit below average. I hope it really does stick the landing, and I hope it, does. I hope Russell has come up with a very good kind of like explanation as to why the characters come back after so long, how it ties into the whole thing of the Doctor thinking he's the last of the Time Lords, and how she survived the Time War and the Master's destruction of Gallifrey and all that kind of stuff. It will just be very interesting to see how that all plays out. And yeah, I'm just really, really hoping, fingers crossed, that this finale sticks the landing, because I really want it to succeed. But yeah, we'll just have to wait and see with that. In summary, I thought the Interstellar Song Contest, probably a 9 out of 10 of an episode. Just a lot of fun, a lot of like darkness going on with the Doctor and him wanting revenge on the baddie. And then obviously it's like been done a million times by this point in the Revived series, but it's still kind of nice to see the Doctor going too far, and then the companion kind of steps in and says to them, look, you've gone too far, you need to stop doing this now. I really enjoyed this episode, and it's just got me so just really wanting this finale to work, and really hoping that it looks like all the rumours about the show at least getting cancelled like probably isn't going to happen. Maybe there might be a gap year next year, but I just really want us to, if Doctor is going to continue to be this good, and I just want to see more and more of it, basically. That's pretty much my thoughts on the Interstellar Song Contest. So I don't know how Elliot's going to edit this in, if it goes back to them or not, or it's at the very end or whatever. But I hope you all enjoyed the Interstellar Song Contest and the podcast and the rest of the podcast itself, and I will hopefully see you all next time to review Wishworld.
Thanks very much, Bill. That was really, really great. And so the three of us are going to give our final ratings for the Interstellar Song Contest before we brace ourselves for the next 2 weeks of Doctor Who. Charlie, let's come to you first. I think you're probably going to have the highest rating of the three of us. So what did you give for the Interstellar Song Contest?
9.
Wow.
Which is, I mean, it's objectively not amazing. And I think if I were to sort of rank the objective quality of these, it would be a bit lower down. But yeah, I think second best of the season so far. I think it's great. I mean, the season's been, 7, 10, 9, 10, 6, 9. It's not an awful average. But at the end of the day, people's opinions and mine will be, of the season will be determined by the 2-part finale, especially the last part, because, all the setup's great, but if the payoff isn't great, then, I think we quite liked Legend of Ruby Sunday a year ago. I thought that was a great episode,
Yeah.
but Empire of Death happened a week later, so I'm bracing myself for Saturday.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought in isolation, not even talking about the Rani, this was very fun and
Yeah.
a bit ridiculous at times, but I just think it was great to watch, really.
Yeah. That's fair enough. Okay, Ryan, your rating for the episode?
It's tricky. There was a lot I really liked about it, and there was a few things that was a bit like, that doesn't quite match up with this, kind of thing. And on a good day, this would probably be an 8 out of 10, but it's a very soft, generous 8 out of 10.
Yeah.
Realistically, it would be a 7, but because I'm being a little bit in a better mood and being generous, I think I'll give it a very soft 8 out of 10.
Yeah, I think I'm sitting around a 7.5, 8 out of 10, where it was good. There was lots of things I did enjoy about it, but there was also flaws in it and things that I didn't like, actively didn't like about the story. So I don't think I give it anything higher than an 8. So yeah, maybe a 7.5 is probably, I would say it's better than Robot Revolution. I think I probably liked it more than the story and the engine, but I think the other 3 we've had were definitely better. Or 4, 3 or 4, something like that. 3 were better. And as you say, Charlie, it is all about these last 2 weeks. Well, really, the reality war. If the reality war is a 1 out of 10, then that wrecks the whole season. If it's a 9 out of 10, then this could be one of the best seasons of Doctor Who ever. Like, it really is all on that. And so we will be back over the next 2 weeks to talk in depth about both of those episodes. So do join us. Obviously, enjoy the episodes and then enjoy all our in-depth discussions. When, this time next week, we're going to be talking about Rassilon, Omega, The Timeless Child, Poppy from Space Babies. Like, it's gonna be full on. So do join us then. But yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed this one. And so from me, Ryan and Charlie, it is goodbye for now.